Hello, everyone. My name is Erik Kull, and I am working at the program department at Stockholm International Film Festival. Welcome to this face-to-face with Faraz Shariat, director of the film No Hard Feelings that you just saw. The film is an impressive debut film and is selected for our discovery section. And without further ado, welcome and hello, Faraz.
Hi Stockholm. Thanks for being here with us.
We're so happy that you can be here, digitally, of course. So I'll just jump right straight into the question. Let's start from the beginning. I have read that the film is based on your own experiences in some way. Would you like to tell us how?
Yeah, sure. The film is autobiographical in a sense that the premises of it happened to me the exact same way. So I got caught shoplifting at a department store back in 2014 and then sentenced to serve community hours at a refugee shelter in 2015. So that was just when the so-called refugee crisis took place in Europe. And I found myself translating and working together with people who looked like me in like this hegemonial German gaze. Like we looked the same, but we really didn't have the same privileges living here in Germany. And yeah, as I was working there, I just thought that this is a really good starting point for a feature film. And then we kicked it off and really just started to gather a lot of experiences and stories from myself and my biography, but also from many other biographies of people living in the first or second generation in Germany. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually brings me to the next question. It is your first feature film. Have you always been interested in filmmaking, or was it this particular experience that sparked the?
Um, I sometimes I feel like I'm not so much someone who was like born and the first words I spoke were I want to become a filmmaker. It's more that I consider myself as an activist maybe, or someone who has a very like cultural, like critical lens on culture. And I choose film as a medium right now, but I could also see myself working with other mediums or media like theater or writing or whatever, really. And I did work on music videos before No Hard Feelings, but that was it really. Like some music videos that definitely also informed the way I approached filmmaking for No Hard Feelings. But yeah, it's not that I like, yeah, it's not that I like feel that filmmaking is the only way I can express myself.
Yeah, I understand. And you have also written the film. How was the filmmaking process like for you?
Um, Sometimes I consider the script of No Hard Feelings as a prism through which we look and see like very different juxtaposing and like singular experiences that stand next to each other, but not really like we weren't really interested in building a super juicy, like tense plot, but more in trying to find a way to portray the like the many axes and edges of growing up as a queer BPOC person in Germany. And yeah, I think it was really like a mosaic, finding striking experiences and building scenes around that. And that was like just a very collective process as well. Like everyone who we casted or met for research, it was always a research. Like it was like whoever we casted, we asked them about their experiences too, and tried to build like scenes about the around the crucial stories that we've heard.
So you did the casting process. It was before at the same time as you did the scripts.
Yeah. I mean, we started the casting process, I think, when we only had 2 pages of an expose, and then we already, like, I think we cast it for 2 or 3 years in total, and it has been like running next to the writing process, and it was actually quite cool because they could really affect each other, and then we like heard a story from someone and tried to build it into the script, and it was just like very intuitive and open, I think.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, what I think is so unique about this film is that it's not just a typical love story like you have touched on before, but also focuses a lot on the subject of immigration and also about finding out your own identity. Was it difficult to balance the story in this type of way with all these different subjects?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when we pitched the film to funding institutions, we were feedback that there are too many themes in it. And we always felt like, no, but that's not, it's not that we're like tackling themes. It's more that all these different axes of identity happen at the same time. And it's really about this intersection of being queer, being Irani German, living in diaspora, being of color, and like whatsoever. And I think there was just like such a crucial element to the creative process. And yeah, I think it was like we really didn't want this film to be a gay love story about two men who fell in love, but more like we see this as like a very intersectional triangle of young people living and building a future in Germany and Europe. And I think it's very difficult for us to pin it down on being queer or be like or being migrant or being like a young adult whatsoever. I think this is really like, especially when it comes to queer cinema, I don't consider this film as queer because of two men having sex in it, but more because of the way we approach identity and like formally filmmaking in this film. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't agree more what you're saying. Actually, one of my favorite scenes in the film is when Banafshi Aman and Parvis stands in a field and screams, "The world is ours." And I would say it's a perfect example of the film's subject of finding your own identity. Do you think a lot of people can relate to that feeling?
I mean, I hope so. I think this moment that you've just mentioned is a very bittersweet one, because like what actually happens is that Banasha, like that she doesn't have anything at that point. Everything is like collapsing, and there's not a lot of hope in that situation. But still, there's a way like that we really wanted to have our to give our characters agency in every single moment of that film, and stating that we are the world is ours is obviously like a very wishful and optimistic way of phrasing it, but it's also a way of empowering oneself. And I think it's just like, yeah, it's just trying to make things possible for our characters that aren't normally available in German or European cinema. And it's like I think another thing that is super important is that this is not a documentary. We are not a film about migration or like representing migration, but this is like a fiction, and we really wanted to use the potential of it, like the political potential of it, and like try to shape a world rather than just like portray it or reflect it or document it.
Yeah, I understand. What do you hope that the audience will take away from the film when they leave the cinema?
That's a difficult question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I see this film as an invitation to participate and also to reflect on our own position as audience. I think the film invites to feel accountable and also responsible and to take action. But I also think that I really hope that the audience somehow feels um, like witnessing a very intimate and personal story that is like yeah, that it's just like pushing boundaries of how we perceive queer BPOC characters in cinema, because I feel like the way we occur is highly politically charged and conditioned. Either we are like extremists, terrorists, like a fear or a source of danger, or we're like romanticized victims, like reflecting trauma and so on. And I think I really hope to be able to invite the audience to like experience a very ambivalent and yeah, I think unique and self-empowered way of or portrayal of queer BPOCs in Germany.
Yeah, I understand. Um, in one segment, I was going to ask you about one technical question about the one scene also that I would like to go into a bit deeper. In one segment, many of the characters in the film break the fourth wall and stare right into the camera. I think it's a very powerful sequence in the film. Do you want to elaborate on why you chose to use that technique in that sequence?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's actually what I've just said about like making the audience accountable, or at least like making visible that they have a stance on what is happening as well, is something that was super important to us. And by breaking the fourth wall and by like making visible that there are people watching this story, we also wanted to make clear that what is happening in our society or in our world is also on the audience and on us as a community. And I think obviously the other thing is that the film is so much about representation, about the way we depict our like, or the way non-white bodies are depicted in Western media. And I think when talking about representation, it's always also talking about the gaze, like who's telling a story, who's watching a story. And I think to make this visible, or to at least give a hint to us, like as an audience watching that and expecting something from the story, like maybe a solution or maybe a happy end, or like, I don't know, I think that's just something that we really wanted to highlight in the film as well.
Yeah, I think you succeeded. I felt it. Your film also won a Teddy for Best Queer Film at Berlin International Film Festival earlier this year, and has also received fantastic reviews. What is next for you, and do you have any more projects planned ahead?
Um, yeah, I mean, it has been very overwhelming how the international and national audience perceived our film. We like as a collective, Jünglinge, who produced and wrote and like created No Hard Feelings, we work on the German remake of Scum right now, the Norwegian like youth series, but that's already almost finished. And we actually also developed some series by ourselves. Like there's several projects that we're developing and some feature films. Like there's a lot going on, but it's always about like navigating your time, and like some projects are more interesting financially and others are creatively. But yeah, we are happy, and we will be putting out some new stuff soon, hopefully.
Sounds like you're very busy. Well, we're super happy to be able to screen this film, and thank you so much for joining us. And let's see. We're very happy to invite you to Stockholm another special year.
Thank you, likewise.